Hello, this is Marshall Vellis for my assignment of the music of the Depression. Explaining how these songs capture the spirit of the 1930s Depression. Name references and examples from each of the three songs. Well, for about the songs, they list about the Depression of the 1930s and how the stocks went down, how, you know, pretty much it was an economic struggle for people to get money, how people were getting broke. The first song, one example, Bestie, nobody knows you when you're down and out. She was talking about, she once lived a life millionaires, metaphorically spending money. I didn't care. I carried my friends out for a good time. How when it was before the economic depression, that they had money that she could spend it on liquor and champagne and wine, and how when she lost all of that money, she would go around. She said that if I ever get my hand on $1 again, I'm gonna hold on to it till them egos green. So this really tells me that during this time for this song, it was really hard for her to get money. That just shows you the economic struggle. People weren't able to get money. They were poor out here. Not look right here. It says in the same song, when you're down and out, in my pocket, not one penny, and my friends. She didn't have anything, and how people wouldn't look at you when you're down and out. When you don't have money, they wouldn't look at you. The second song, Columbia, also talks about like economic depression, and this one says about how this guy was building, how he had an American dream, and pretty much how he had money, but people wouldn't recognize you because you didn't have money back then. So an example would be like, once I built a railroad, now it's done. Brother, can you spare a dime? He would basically the example of like he would have to go around asking money, and how people would say, "Oh, who are you?" or whatever it may be. He even says how he once lived a good life as well. Once in khaki suits, gee wee, looks swell. Full of that Yankee Doodle dum. 500,000 boots went slogging through hell, and I was a kid with a drum. Meaning, in my mind, I think, he had money, and he used to look good. He used to dress well, and, he lost all that. For the third song, it talks about the land. This guy talks more about how, not like how the rich and the poor, but he also talks about more like, that this land was made for all of us, that he came to the land of free, that he's in the land of freedom, that this land, for example, this land is your land and this land is my land, from California to New York Islands. Meaning the United States land is free indeed for everybody. So he's talking about that, and how, pretty much that, yeah. And also how, yeah, but most of these songs they do carry a depressed tone. Like for the first one example, that one has a very depressed tone, talking about like she didn't have any money or anything like that. Okay, the last question. What is your interpretation of the passage? There was a big highway wall there that tried to stop me. A sign was painted, said private property, but on the back side it didn't say nothing. This land was made for you and me. From Gruthers, this land is your land. How does it relate to the depression? It relates to the depression because, the wealthy could buy things. In those times, wealthy could buy governors and things like that. And wealthy people couldn't get anywhere because they had money and they had influence. So this one talks about how, the sign was painted private property from the front, meaning you can't get in because millionaires could because they had money and influence. But how on the back side, it didn't say anything. And how that the United States is basically a land of freedom, and how we're free, everybody's free to do, and go anywhere and do something. So that's how I relate it, and it relates to depression because, in those times, millionaires could buy their way in influence, could buy, their way in everything with governors, judges, anything like that, and how poor people wouldn't be able to do that. But this is my assignment for the music of depression, but yeah.